Welcome to this episode of the Simply Financial Podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Calandra. Want to increase your financial IQ with today's episode, which is about opportunity zones. So upfront, let me just say that this is an area where I am not an expert. It is not something my team and I at Elliott Wealth Management directly work with our clients on. Most of the things that I talk to you about on the show are things that I consider myself either an expert in or something that I have a lot of experience in, given my 30 plus years of experience as a certified financial planner working with individuals, families, and small business owners. But I thought this topic was worth a discussion because it's kind of interesting. I find it intriguing. So let's talk about it. I'll share at a very high level what they are. As always, keep in mind, especially with something like this, which is fairly complex, that this is meant to be strictly educational. Wanna, as I said at the top of the show in my opening, increase your financial IQ. But this is something that would require quite a bit of research on your part if you were ever to do anything with opportunity zones. So what are they? Opportunity zones are low-income communities that are nominated by state governors and then backed by the U.S. Department of Treasury. This opportunity zone program was created about 5 years ago, and the goal is for the zones to benefit from tax incentives for investors wanting to entice investors to invest in these zones by financing in new projects. Read that to be real estate investing. The goal of the Opportunity Zone program is to improve the situation in these low-income communities by bringing in private capital to spur development and increase the speed of revitalization. Understand that these zones are hard-hit areas. They would generally be described as distressed communities. With that comes a lot of things that you might expect: higher than average unemployment rates, lower graduation rates, high vacancy rates, maybe a lot of eyesores, dilapidated buildings. I think you can get the picture. So some quick stats. There are over 8,700 opportunity zones in the United States. There are opportunity zones in every state and every territory in the U.S. today. I find this stat amazing, but about 10% of the U.S. population lives in the existing opportunity zones right now. That's a little jaw-dropping, I think. That really caught me by surprise. So we're not going to go too deep into the complexities of the tax incentives, but in the simplest sense, if you invest in an opportunity zone, and there's a bunch of hoops you got to jump through. So again, oversimplification, if you hold for 10 years, you would not be subject to capital gains. So that's pretty attractive because you could invest, make money, sell, and not have to pay capital gain. So I can see why some investors might be attracted to participating in opportunity zones in one way or another. Let me also add that it's only been around 5 years and you have to hold for 10 years. So this is a new program. Near as I can tell from the reading and research I've done, the results are kind of mixed. It seems like this might be really good public policy. If we could help hard-hit communities revitalize themselves, that would be wonderful. And a joint project between the public and private and inclusive of private capital seems to me to be a smart play. But the jury is still out. As I said, the results are mixed. As an example, some of the research that I read shows that only 1% of the opportunity zones got a whopping 42% of money invested in the zones. So it's very top heavy, and investments have not been widespread, at least as of yet. To add to that point, 78% of the money invested in opportunity zones only went to 5% of the zones. That's pretty disheartening. Now, it's only 5 years in. This can change over time, especially if the money that's invested into these first grouping, this narrow grouping of opportunity zones, if there is success, the communities are revitalized, rebuilt, improved, and investors can make money and avoid capital gains. It seems to me, simple kind of thought process, that would create an opportunity for these opportunity zones to attract more capital. I'll also say that I've read some of the impact studies, and the results seem mixed. Some of the zones that are attracting the most investments seem to be the better off opportunity zones. In other words, the worst hit areas haven't attracted much investment. That sort of makes sense. Those are probably the harder, more difficult problems, and money might have been attracted to the low-hanging fruit, at least first, given that this is new and sort of in a trial period. But remains to be seen how good this program will be for the country as well as for investors. If you want to find out more, I would direct your attention to HUD, which is the government agency handling housing and urban development. That's what HUD stands for. They have a site dedicated to opportunity zones. It's opportunityzones.hud.gov. You can go there and get more information. This episode was not meant to be a deep dive or an investment recommendation, but simply to be a primer, to give you kind of an example of something that the government put in place that may be beneficial for both society, for the country as a whole, as well as investors. So I hope you found the information to be valuable, maybe a bit entertaining too, hopefully. I'll be back with you on the next episode of the Simply Financial podcast very soon. In the meantime, please subscribe to this podcast if you haven't done so already, and I'd really appreciate it if you'd recommend it to a friend. Thanks for listening today.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of SagePoint Financial Incorporated and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Please note, the information being provided is strictly as a courtesy. When you link to any of the websites provided here, you are leaving this website. We make no representation as to the completeness or accuracy of the information provided at these websites, nor is the company liable for any direct or indirect technical or system issues or any consequences arising out of your access to your use of third-party technologies, websites, information, and programs made available through this website. When you access one of these websites, you are leaving our website and assume total responsibility and risk for your use of the websites you are linking to. Securities and advisory services are offered through SagePoint Financial Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Insurance services offered through Elliott Wealth Management, LLC, not affiliated with SagePoint Financial.